afternoon, and thanks to QQI, the RPL network, and to Andrina and the advisory group for inviting me to speak to you today. I don't have a presentation, I have some reflections, and I suppose that's where I would situate guidance. I'm absolutely thrilled that we're having the conversation about RPL and guidance, and as I kind of asked the question, and thank you again to Gottlieb for the presentation. But I wanted to give you some background in what we're talking about when we talk about guidance. Okay, so in 2008, the EU Council resolution the EU Council issued a resolution on integrating lifelong guidance into lifelong learning strategies. And it was very, very clear about what guidance is, what guidance does, but also quite clear on what guidance isn't. And I think that's where we need to be clear on the language as to what guidance doesn't do, and therefore what guidance can be expected to do. Priority Area 2 on that EU Council resolution stated that one of the roles of guidance is to enable people to benefit from support in obtaining validation and recognition on the labour market of their formal, non-formal and informal learning outcomes. So it's very clear about enabling people to benefit from support to obtain that validation, not to give that validation. Okay? So just to keep going with that, there was mention earlier on about the 2011 recommendation in relation to guidance in directing towards a RPL. So we have two very clear European documents that are saying the role of guidance in supporting, directing to, supporting somebody through the process. But there is no document that says guidance does the RPL process. So that's where I'm coming from today. In our National Department of Education and Skills Action Plan, there's also reference to the links between SOLAS and the HEA working together to support access, transfer and progression of learners through the process. So we're talking about supporting somebody into learning, through learning, out of learning, into the next level of learning, whatever level that learning is about. And the role of guidance is to support somebody through that very, very long, winding lifelong learning roadmap. Recently, the Department of Education and Skills published the Indicon Career Guidance Review, and that Career Guidance Review talked about, the first recommendation was a recommendation on having a national policy on guidance, because we don't have one. And if we don't have one, we equally don't have one that says RPL is or is not part of, related to, or connected to the guidance process. So I'm suggesting that we need to have RPL named within the national guidance policy, but what is the role of guidance in relation to RPL is the bit that I would be suggesting needs to be in there. Being very clear then, guidance facilitates an individual to make a decision about their career, education and life choices, and supports them in developing career management skills to work their way through. Guidance does not place somebody on the national framework of qualifications. You guys do that. We inform the individual about the national framework of qualifications, and you don't need a leaving cert anymore at all, except if you're 18 and about to sit the exams and you've made your application to university. But if you don't sit your leaving cert now, in 3 years' time you can go to university without it, because you can be RPL'd through the process and look at, well, what learning did I do? I just didn't do the exams. So we don't put somebody on the NFQ. The institutions and QQI list what are the skills and the learning outcomes at level 1 to level 10. So it is the ETBs, the IOTs, the universities. You guys are the ones who say, well, here's somebody with these skills who can come into engineering. We need these skills for somebody to come into nursing. We need somebody with these skills to go into horticulture and the farming community. It's the role of guidance to inform that person that that process exists and support them through the process so that they will apply for nursing with healthcare assistant experience for the last 10 years. So looking at RPL and validation, the process there is to accredit and recognise the learning. So what's my experience? Okay, I can list that I'm doing a doctorate at the moment, but where's my experience in cooking? I wouldn't have a hope in getting into a course to become a chef, nor, I can assure you, would I try, and no plans to poison the rest of the world. My kids have survived this far, that's purely through luck. But guidance supports the individual to reflect on their skills. Who am I? What do I like doing? What do I want to do? What do I want to do in the future? What's my family circumstance? What age am I? Am I daft doing this? No, of course you're not daft doing this. And here's the process that will help you to get your skills, having worked in, the bar here for 10 years, but you want to become the bar manager and you want to get the training and you want to enter into a program where you get recognition so you can apply for the bar manager job. Guidance counsellor's job is to support them through that process. So I'm going to issue a couple of challenges, and I'm going to start that challenge with recognising the learning of this network and the expertise of this network. My challenge to this network is to bring what you have developed in practice into the conversations in policy. Part of our role in NCGE is to support practice and to support the development of policy. And we in guidance talk about practice informs policy, informs practice. It's a loop. You have expertise in this room that you guys probably need to validate that expertise in bringing it into a conversation about the policy. We need to have a conversation about where RPL, or validation of prior and non-formal and informal learning, links to guidance, relates to guidance and works with guidance. They're two parts of a jigsaw. They're not the same thing. So I would caution and issue a question. There are fantastic courses, and it's brilliant to hear the opportunities that people are getting to do a 6-week programme or 12-week programme where they can reflect on their skills and come out of it with a validated programme at level whatever. What about the people who don't want to do a 6-week programme or a 12-week programme? What do the guidance services do with them? Okay, well you have to do a 12-week programme to get all your stuff learned, validated. That's formal learning. Again, where are we providing people with an opportunity to get validation and recognition for the learning that they have without having to do a formal programme? So my final comment then is, I would suggest, and NCGE would suggest, and we would offer now, to host that conversation between the RPL network, QQI and ourselves, and guidance practitioners who've been involved in the VISCA pilot, who've been involved with this project, to host that conversation on where does the role between RPL and guidance, where does it fit? We have an opportunity to inform the Commission on where this fits, and NCGE, in our role as the representative for Ireland with the European Commission on guidance, is we will offer to bring that conversation also to the section in the European Commission that we're talking to as well. Because I think that conversation, if we start it here at national level, we can continue it at Commission level. And it's based on absolutely your experience here and validating your experience to have that conversation at the policy level. Thanks very much.